Welcome to a very special Memorial Day edition of This Week in Missouri Politics. We're joined for the first time by Congresswoman Ann Wagner. Congresswoman, welcome to This Week in Missouri Politics.
Thank you, Scott. I'm pleased to be with you and your viewers.
Memorial Day, very special to all of us, but probably especially special to you. Can you tell us about your son and what he's doing?
Oh, my son is just such a joy. Raymond is a West Point graduate, St. Louis U High boy, St. Louis born and raised, and just left the 101st Airborne and was down at Fort Benning right now, finishing up his captain's career course, and will be off to Fort Stewart. He has his captain's bars and will hopefully take command in Fort Stewart, and will, sadly for Mom here, deploy again, most certainly, but he is certainly committed to his service in the Army and to this country, and is absolutely wrapped in the flag, and is just a joy to Ray and myself.
On behalf of all of our viewers, everyone here This Week in Missouri Politics, please thank him for his service.
Oh, I do every day, and I got to visit him on Mother's Day, and he's married to a wonderful young girl who's also St. Louis born, Julia Graw, and you know, it's an important day, Memorial Day is, and I hope that everybody, all of the viewers, will remember those who gave the last full measure of their lives for our freedom and for our liberty, and also, you know, hug a vet, thank an active duty service member of our armed services. So it's important. My father was a Korean War veteran, and my father-in-law a World War II vet. So they're buried at Jefferson Barracks, and it's very special to us.
Well, speaking of some of national defense, talk about the NGA. There was a big victory for St. Louis. I know you worked very hard. Senator Blunt,
yes.
Congressman Clay was involved. That was a huge victory, but it looks like the Illinois delegation is trying to steal that victory away.
Well, I'm happy to report that we got the last chess move there this week. I was able to, last week and this week, through our appropriations process, make sure that we had the funding in, return the $801,000 for the land and the acquisition to the budget and to our appropriations process that went through for construction and military and VA. So that money has been secured. They tried to strip it out, but we got to put back in a midnight amendment, I must say, and some of the other shenanigans and peacocking around, I should say, has not worked.
So is the fight over? Is this going to be in St. Louis?
It's over. I spoke with Director Cardella late this week. I believe it was on Wednesday evening. This will be inked in Sharpie, I believe, by next Thursday, June 2nd. And, you know, this is such a tradition and so fantastic for our region. 70 years the NGA has been here in the St. Louis region, and this campus, West Campus, up in North St. Louis County, is going to bring life and vitality and jobs. And the multiplier effect for our region, I think, is going to be fantastic. And so many of the employees that work at NGA West are living in the 2nd District and in the greater St. Louis region, so they're pleased too. It's a big win in terms of jobs and all that will bring.
Let's talk about another win you had with, you've done a lot of work in sex trafficking, and even some of that work has matriculated and inspired some state lawmakers to pass some bills that were actually moved this session. What's the next fight in your work on the issue?
Well, we took the fight this week to the Department of Justice, and today, this Sunday, is the 1-year anniversary of our huge, comprehensive human trafficking legislation at a federal level called the Justice for Victims of Trafficking Act. JVTA was signed into law exactly a year ago. I was instrumental in moving. It was about 11 pieces of human trafficking legislation that were bundled together. One of them was my SAVE Act that Elijah Haar, Representative Haar, has sponsored here in Missouri. And we've taken the act, and it was signed into law a year ago, and we've gone back to the Department of Justice. And I did a bipartisan event this week with legislators on both sides of the aisle, really holding Loretta Lynch, the Attorney General, to task for implementation of JVTA. There are certain guidelines and directives that need to get out to our U.S. attorneys. There is a fund for victims. Why do you have to
fight so hard on that?
Well,
that seems a little bizarre.
We took the opportunity to take a look back over the past year, and there are several functions and implementation areas of the law that Loretta Lynch and the Department of Justice have not moved forward. So we've asked the Attorney General to take a good look at convictions, at putting the funds in the account that we've set up for victims advocacy and services. We've looked at directives and reporting that are so important that need to get out so we can have the data to know how to move forward. So we want the Department of Justice to take JVTA and the human trafficking issue and make sure that they are doing whatever they can to help our communities and save these poor, helpless victims. There are children, mostly women and young boys too. This is a crime against humanity. Modern day sex slavery, and is hiding in plain sight, Scott, and it's something that I feel very passionate about and have worked very hard on.
Let's talk about something else you've been outspoken on, this presidential race.
Yes.
Many folks have been a little slow to come around to the Republican nominee, you being one of them. A lot of folks have now come around. I think maybe Hillary Clinton has a way of galvanizing support.
Well, that's for sure.
Are you ready now to come on, and will you be voting for Donald Trump?
Well, I will certainly not be voting for Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders. I think the jury's still out, Scott, on which one's going to be the nominee. And of course, I'll be voting for our nominee. And you know, we all want to galvanize behind the Republican nominee and make sure that we don't have 4 more years of this Obama White House. But I think as conservative leaders, what I want to see from Donald Trump is his policies and his conservative principles. I want to see those galvanize, and I think it's incumbent upon us to make sure that we hold this campaign and this nominee's feet to the fire in terms of those principles and policies that are so very important to our republic and moving forward. The American people have suffered over the last 8 years of this Obama White House.
You mentioned Loretta Lynch. There's been a new development in Hillary Clinton's national security leaks through her email server.
Right.
There's no way that Justice Department indicts her, right? I mean, that's a pipe dream.
Well, you know, Director Comey at the FBI is a straight-up guy, and I think I believe he is.
Is straight enough to tell the president he's going to do his job if the president asks him not to?
I would hope that he would step aside if he were not. But I think this indictment from state is very key. I frankly think her nomination is in great jeopardy. Her numbers are plummeting in California. I know that Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders are looking at perhaps a debate. That'll probably.
I'd watch that.
Oh, I'd kick into that. I can't come up with $10 million, but I'd buy tickets for sure. And America needs to have this debate. Donald Trump has absolutely captured the anger and the frustration of the American people that I feel too as a legislator on their behalf.
This is to be said for him enlarging the party. I mean, this is a party that's won the national popular vote once since 1988. Missouri's kind of went more Republican, but many other states have went kind of the opposite way. So, a little bit of a change in approach might not be the worst thing.
Well, people are tired of this top-down approach. Washington knows best. Edicts from the alphabet soup of agencies, whether they're the Department of Justice, the Department of Labor, the EPA, the CFPB, you name it. We are absolutely drowning in a sea of regulatory overreach by this
You're not known for
president.
political correctness.
I am not.
You have foreign policy. You've been an ambassador.
I have.
You're
indeed.
a successful woman in politics, and you've been slower to come around to say you're voting for Donald Trump. You seem like a very logical person to be asked to be vice president. If you were asked, would you serve?
I would always serve my country. When a president has asked me to step up and serve, whether it has been at our national party level, Scott, or whether it's been as a U.S. ambassador, I am called to serving my community, this great state that has given me and my family so very much and is home to me. And our country also. So I'm always willing to look at opportunities to serve.
And if you don't do that, what about U.S. Senate next cycle? Is that something you're looking at? Your name's mentioned all the time.
Well, the thing about politics, everyone's always looking at the next election. I want to concentrate on now. I think 2016 is so important. I'm obviously up for re-election in the congressional seat in Missouri's 2nd District. And we're going to put all of our forces behind re-election in the congressional seat and this governor's race and our U.S. Senate race to make sure that we don't we not only have a Republican president, but that we also return our statewide offices, have them reflect perhaps a little bit more of the Republican-leaning legislature that we have
Looks like
currently.
under John Hancock's leadership, some of those things are shaking out the right way.
I think so.
Avoided a primary and state treasurer's race. Seems like it's moving in the right direction.
We're going to be investing in the second district and making sure that we can lift all Republican
The rising
votes.
tide.
You bet.
Well, Congresswoman Wagner, thank you so much for joining us for this week of Missouri Politics. Hope
thank
you'll
you.
come back as the election cycle unfolds.
Anytime. Thank you, Scott, so much.
We'll be right back with our opinion maker panel, but first we'll leave you with this week's leading Missouri economic indicators.
All across Missouri, our new car and truck dealers are building strong local economies. When you buy a car or truck in Missouri, you're helping to support over 20,000 Missouri families who rely on the auto industry for good-paying local jobs. You're also helping fund our communities, schools, first responders, and our roads because dealers generate millions of dollars in tax revenue. Missouri's automobile dealers have been the foundation of our communities for generations and for generations to come. The Missouri Automobile Dealers Association, the heart of Missouri.
For more than a century, the St. Louis Carpenters Union has shaped our communities. Through trusted alliances, we deliver skilled professional craftspeople while our business partners provide the kind of quality jobs that keep our economy humming. It's a blueprint that has worked since 1882. Turning Missouri into a right-to-work state stalls progress, wipes out jobs, and kills momentum. Right to work is wrong for everyone. Let's keep Missouri moving forward. Visit carpdc.org to learn more.
Welcome back to This Week in Missouri Politics. We're now joined by our opinion maker panel. Mark Dalton, welcome back to the show, sir.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Braxton Payne back on from the Kelly Group back, and I always think of you when I see something clever on social media. I'm like, well, that was probably Braxton, right?
I can't tell you that whether it was or not.
Well, it certainly wasn't me. Representative Kathy Conway, first time on the show. Thank you very much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Scott.
And friend of the show, and again, since Senator Lamping retired, the best hair in Missouri politics, Joe Lake, and welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Congresswoman Wagner, I think she's indicative of a lot of Republicans who probably wouldn't have ever selected Donald Trump, but are now looking at some polls and seeing, hey, this might work. And I think she's not politically correct herself, so there's a little bit of a kinship there, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think you saw this week Donald Trump leading Real Clear Politics average for the first time in this race. I think you sort of put that side by side with the Democrats, sort of in a free-for-all, sniping at one another. I saw Senator McCaskill going after the chairman of the Democratic National Committee. I think they've got real problems on the other side as well.
Representative Conway, have you come out, have you endorsed Donald Trump yet?
I have not.
What's holding you up?
I think that as we go along with Mr. Trump, I've been reading some of his policies. I think he's come out very strong on a lot of the issues with health care, repealing Obamacare. He wants to take away the fact that people can't move across the border, insurance, group insurance. He wants to do the health savings accounts. that they will keep going and you can inherit them from your parents. They're always tax-free. These are real changes that we've been looking for. I wasn't real crazy about his campaign and how he came out swinging a little too hard. But as I watch his policies in that, I'm moving more to liking what he has. I just want to sit back a little bit and let it play itself out.
Mark Dalton, I'm just the West Butler County hillbilly here, but I love the fact he came out swinging. I thought it was great. But I'm not a politically correct person, and I'm not a big fan of those that are. So I did see a policy that I think is interesting. You go down to factories and people that work for a living, union members.
Right.
You go down the river a little bit into Madrid, and you talk to the 700 people that are out of a job because Obama just would not stand up to China flooding the aluminum market. You go to West Butler County. There's a factory called Nordyne. It's now in Guadalajara somewhere. I didn't see the Clinton plan of NAFTA. I haven't seen the Mexican industrial park that's moved here. Have you?
No, and I agree with what you're saying. I think a lot of people are politically incorrect, and they see Trump as someone who just stands up and tells it like he thinks it is, and that does appeal to a lot of people. That's why things have been so interesting.
Braxton, you're one of the probably the leading thinkers where politics and labor converge. I see international unions and national unions endorsing Hillary Clinton. I talk to union members. I don't think they're voting for Hillary Clinton.
I think there's several of unions that have come out and support Hillary Clinton, but it's also, you look at UFCW, you look at their members voted to endorse her.
Wow.
You look at SEIU. I mean, you have a high minority population, which is also what Barack Obama had in 2008 and 2012. And you talked about earlier about the national polls. National polls mean absolutely nothing. John McCain was leading Barack Obama at this point in 2008. It comes down, yeah, by 7 points. It comes down to about 10 states. It comes down to about a handful of counties, and that's where Hillary Clinton is really going to focus. And she has
if she's
this
not
infrastructure. In jail. She will not be in jail. I mean, that's a Republican pipe dream, one that you're proud to lead. I mean,
she might get to focus on Fort Leonard or Leavenworth. Kansas.
It's absolutely ludicrous. I mean, even the report that came out the other day pretty much said that all Secretary of States have done it. And yes, should she have practiced better judgment? Yes, but I think she said that herself.
Well, I did endorse Hillary Clinton, but I did an email to her, so I doubt it'll ever surface, right? Joe Leggett, when it comes down to Missouri, though, I think there was some folks that were afraid that Trump would be a lag on the ticket. I'm sure there will be some pockets of Missouri where that's probably the case, but overall, Trump wins Missouri, right?
Yeah, I think so. And if you look at over the past decade, and take, for example, Missouri state legislative races, where the growth has occurred, we've seen it in St. Charles County, which 10 years ago was sort of the heart of the competition for legislative races. It's now moved into places like Clay County, like Jefferson County. And, I think these are policies. I think Trump is speaking to the concerns they have that jobs are going overseas, trade policies aren't working, nobody cares about them. And I think the folks in those areas are ready for it, and I think he's going to continue to embolden our Missouri legislative majorities, and I think it's going to sort of trickle up into the statewide as well.
Representative Conway, I do think it looks like there was some thought it would affect Missouri Republicans. I think they've decided that's probably not the case, right?
Oh, I think, could you repeat that? I'm sorry.
No, I think there was initially people thought Trump would lag the ticket in Missouri. I think a lot of folks are coming to the realization that either won't affect it much or it'll help it.
I think that's still kind of up in the air a little bit because, like Joe was saying, there's a lot of pockets that are real solid Trump, and if you don't endorse Trump, they kind of look at you as an enemy. I think there's others that are kind of purplish, and you've got to gauge your
constituents.
constituents.
The Republican Party, like the embarrassment of riches. Now, if you're not 100%, if you don't agree with me and you're not a sycophant, you're an enemy.
Well, and it seems to be that way.
Yeah.
And I think that it's on both sides, the never Trump and make America great again. And we need to realize we're going after the same goals. And we don't need to fight each other. We're going to have quite a bit of competition with probably Hillary Clinton, maybe Bernie Sanders. We need to come together. We all want the same things for Missouri. And I think it really is going to enhance us because people are going to be so anxious to get to the polls and be heard this year. I think we're going to see.
Do you think Democrats are anxious to vote for Hillary Clinton?
Do I think that who is?
Democrats are anxious to vote for Hillary Clinton.
I think some of them are. I think it's a lot like it is between Trump and whoever else, they wanted, Cruz or whatever. I think they're going to come around too because I think that the party platforms are what's going to win out.
Braxton, do you think Hillary Clinton actually competes in Missouri?
Yes, I think she does. I think you have this suburban white women population that she appeals to, not only, but Donald Trump is not popular there. You look at places like St. Charles County, where I personally grew up, there's a lot of disconnect. There's a lot of, I wouldn't say hatred for Donald Trump, but the way he speaks about women, and I think there's a lot of places where Democrats and Hillary Clinton can make inroads. Same thing, similar to what happened with Claire McCaskill in the Todd Aiken race. She was able to make inroads in these places where the legitimate rape comment did not play well with women.
Sure, well, I don't think that played well with anybody. But Mark, I don't know if you're a union member. The Clintons' NAFTA plan is probably the worst public policy decision that's ever affected labor. Obamacare, how could anybody in UFCW think Obamacare has been good for that union? I mean, where's the excitement? I think there's a lot of trepidation with Trump in Missouri. Some folks, maybe down in SEMO, think it's a great thing to have a straight-talking person. But now I do think there are pockets that would support Clinton, but I don't see him fervently supporting her.
Well, I think, the primaries are one thing. With the primaries out of the way between now and November, I agree with the Representative Conway. Things are up in the air. It's going to come down to some real policy issues. And even within labor unions, it's such as my own. I mean, we have people that like Donald Trump and then people that like Hillary, but Donald Trump has come out and said that he would prefer to do his construction in right-to-work states, prefers a national right-to-work law. So once that starts getting out a little more, I think people will kind of change their tones. And it's going to get down to the real issues and what the real beliefs are. And I think, between now and November, things are going to change quite a bit.
Well, Braxton, though, in a Clinton economy, you'd have socialized health care and you either work at Starbucks or you get a NAFTA job in Mexico, right?
So, no, I disagree with that. So she says that she would expand Obamacare, which I think Obamacare is, it's 17 plus million people have able to get health insurance. It's working. Yes, does it need to be improved? I think 100%. But she also says, I mean, even in 2008, she was a little bit to the left of Barack Obama when it came to health care. So she's always had that position. She's been consistent over the years of providing children and low-income people with health care. And I think she's going to continue to do that. And you said people are not enthusiastic. I know people are enthusiastic. Over 12 million people have come out and support her. She got about 17.5 million people that voted for her in 2008. And I think we're going to hit that number again.
Joe Leggett, if you're the left of Barack Obama, you're holding hands with Chairman Mao, aren't you?
Yeah, look, I think anybody trying to make the case in Missouri that Obamacare is working and it's good, I've got a batch of about 30 former Democrat candidates who would disagree that it's working. They've all lost their jobs in the legislature because of it. And, I think that what we've learned in this cycle is that, it was sort of in 08, it was Barack Obama's the strongest candidate we've ever seen in this country, probably. But I think what we're learning this cycle is Hillary Clinton may be the worst candidate to run for president in a long time. She just cannot close the deal with Democrats, and I think she's going to have huge problems. Her unfavorables are already over 60 in Missouri. I do not see her being someone that Missouri Democrats are going to be running to this fall.
Let's talk about, Mark Dalton, somebody they are running towards, and that's Chris Koster.
Yeah.
This presidential dynamic seems to have a life of its own, but in Missouri, the Republican Party, the ad season's about to start, but Koster seems to be plugging along with a message of, let's focus on business. That's got to scare Republicans.
Yeah, I mean, Koster he's pro-business, pro-agriculture. He appeals to a lot of people. It will be interesting once the ads start on the Republican primary side. I think things are going to get pretty ugly, pretty dirty, and I think it'll damage whoever comes out of that will be damaged.
I always imagine Braxton in some cool, trendy place in the city of St. Louis with his MacBook open and like some song that's cooler than I know of listening to, doing social media for Democrats at works. I tend to think when he does the Hillary Clinton, he's got to be like, oh. But when you get to the Chris Koster one, that's got to be the fun one, right?
Well, so no, I am enthusiastic about Hillary Clinton. Don't try to pit me there. But when it comes to Chris Koster, I think he said it perfectly. The Republican primary, you have to run so far to the right to win a primary, and I don't think our state is that far right. Our state is very middle of the road. 5 or 7 statewide offices are held by Democrats. So if the Republicans want to cannibalize themselves, please. I mean, that would be a joy for me to watch. But you also talk about SJR 39 and all these anti-business bills. Boeing comes out against it, Monsanto, Anheuser-Busch. These are big business, and they're supporting, they're not supporting Republican ideas. They're reporting, when did the Democrats, in Missouri, have become the party of pro-business?
Representative Conway, you got to deal with some of this stuff in the legislature this session. Have you picked a favorite in the governor's race?
I haven't picked a favorite. I think we've got 4 really good candidates. I think the problem we're going to have with Koster, the Democrats are very good about picking their candidate early on and not beating up on each other. The Republicans like variety. So we're going to go out there and we're going to look at these folks and we're going to pick the one that we want to represent our party. We've had 8 years of Jay Nixon, who I have seen in 5 or 6 State of the State addresses, and that's about it. He came from the Attorney General's office. Are we going to pick another Attorney General to come up there for 8 years and be absent? I think it's a choice that Missourians need to make. So much didn't get done because of the vetoes of the governor. We need 109 people. Some of the issues were a little hard for some people to go along with. So we're going to need that leadership, somebody down there helping the legislator, not just writing something and waiting for the veto to see what's wrong with it, but somebody to actually come down and say, I can accept this, I can't accept that. And 8 years has already been too much of that.
Joe Lakin, you were the Greitens campaign. The thing that people say about Greitens is he'd probably be the best person to stack up against Koster. Is that true, and why?
Oh, I think it absolutely is true. I mean, I think if you look at Jay Nixon and his record of the last 8 years, it's a lack of leadership. That's the thing you see in the state legislature.
Democrats candidly say that as well.
Democrats say it as well. I think there's no more a compelling, not only candidate, but leader for this state. Missouri's, we've been in the news for all the wrong reasons the last few years. We saw it at Mizzou, we saw it at Ferguson, we saw the Rams leave. I think people want somebody they can get inspired to support, get behind, and somebody who's going to go out and be a salesman for our state, going to be a leader for our state. And to me, I like all 4 candidates in the race for governor, all the Republicans, but there is no more a compelling candidate and compelling leader than Eric Greitens.
If you were sitting in that trendy coffee house putting together these elaborate social media
I don't
campaigns.
even drink coffee, so.
Well, I was going to say bar, but your mom might be watching.
That's more accurate.
That's where I see it anyway. How would you advise Peter Kinder to run his advertising?
I don't know if he needs to run much advertising. I would do it. He's not going to have a lot of money. You're going to have Greitens, which can raise. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. He was raising money from all spectrums, especially a lot from Democrats from California, so I think that's going to hurt him. But I think you see what happens with Kinder. I think all he has to do is put a couple ads a couple weeks before the primary up on TV. He does some digital advertising.
Pro-Kinder stuff?
I don't think he really needs. I think he lets Brunner and Greitens go after each other, and then he maybe, I think his only real competition when it comes to their platform is Catherine Hanaway.
Mark Dalton, if you were Catherine Hanaway, what would you tell her to run? What would she come out with?
I don't know. If I were her, I would just tell her to, maybe stick to something else because Koster's going to win it anyway.
It's an interesting law and order election, Braxton. I think if you talk to some of the folks on the Cruz campaign, they'll say the protest really helped Trump when people are protesting him. If that continues into the fall, a law and order candidate, Hanaway, Koster, both can lay a claim to that mantle. Do you think that hurts Democrats? Some Democrats are worried about is 68 happen again and the hippies take to the streets.
No, I don't think that's going to happen, but I do think it's going to be a tough race. I don't think Koster's going to walk to the governor's mansion.
Yeah.
I mean, there's politics is local, and it's a long process. We have a lot of time until November.
Problem, right?
Exactly, it needs to stay local.
Representative Conway, we've seen Democrats lose races that got nationalized at the state level. If this race gets nationalized, Republicans have a real chance, right?
Oh yeah, I think so. I think that the Trump folks are so eager, and the governor did us a great favor by putting the voter ID on the November. So we're just going to have people flocking, and if it becomes nationalized.
We hope everyone will flock back here to This Week in Missouri Politics next time, same channel. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week on This Week in Missouri Politics. This Week in Missouri Politics, brought to you in part by Sterling Bank.